Okay. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Welcome to this KaiZoN Solutions talk. I'm joined by James Yang from KaiZoN, the co-founder. I think his camera's off, so we'll see. There he is.
Hello.
Hey, what's up, James? How you doing? How's
Great,
it
great.
going?
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. Did you like that intro? Countdown.
Yeah, I was waiting for the cue and I was like, oh, okay, now's the
There you
time
are.
to turn
That's
on the
your time.
camera.
I didn't hide you backstage. I just left you up there. Um, and now let me see. You can share it in our group real fast. Meta makes things fun where we have the stream to Facebook pages now and then share to the group. People have watched
Oh,
these in the past know this story. So, uh, but yeah. Thanks again for finally we coordinated this to do the session. And thanks for agreeing to do it. I know Inderpreet kind of connected us
mm.
from the LoudEgg group and was like, hey, you got to check out KaiZoN Solutions or KaiZoN Space. I've been just calling it KaiZoN. Um, but yeah, first off, where you're from and what time is it where you are? It looks like it's light out, but I don't know if it is.
Yeah, it's the veneer of a virtual background to mask the fact that it's almost midnight in Sydney. So
Oh
yeah, so
wow.
I'm our team is based in Sydney, Australia, and despite the virtual background looking as if it's like midday, it's actually ironically midnight down here.
Midnight. So we're doing a midnight run. We're doing a midnight run tonight for this.
Yeah.
It's like 10 a.m. in New York, but cloudy weather, so it's not so bright. I mean, even though I got the windows open here, so I got a lot of bright light coming from this side.
Mm.
Um, but yeah. So what is? Let's get off right away with the origin story. Like why create yet another video meet? I know it's more than just that
Mm.
tool. How did this all come up? How did this all come about?
Yeah, I think it's one of those questions that people always ask. It's like, hey, why are you trying to enter a market that has established players, right? Like you have your Zooms, your Google Meets, and your Microsoft Teams. Like why are you kind of competing against them? It's kind of it stemmed from the fact that I guess during the pandemic, like during COVID, a lot of remote work happened and a lot of businesses weren't prepared for that, including, I guess, the law firm I was working at the time. And with law, you have a lot of documents. Like all you're doing on a daily basis is working on documents. But when you kind of go into a remote environment where people are now working from home, having to collaborate on documents over Zoom was a big challenge. It was, hey, let me email version one to you. Can you have a look? And then it's, oh yeah, I got it. Yeah, let me have a look now. And then you wait for them to share their screen and they're reviewing the document in real time. And effectively you're just waiting there going oh, okay, what's happening? So we thought, hey, look, how do we make this easier? How do we make working on documents more streamlined, especially when you're having a remote working style? And that's how the idea came about.
Nice. Did you guys like? I know you're a co-founder, so you have a team. Like how big's your team?
Yeah, so our team is a total of four people. So we try to keep things small, try to I guess, extend the health of the company and extend our products.
Yeah. Were you guys friends years before all this, before developing the platform? Or did you work together at an agency? What's the story there? Like how do you end up finding these other characters to work with you?
Yeah, so I met most of my co-founders through my university years. So when we were in in uni together, we kind of worked on different projects together. And we thought, hey, look, this is a great idea. Recognize that we all had different skill sets in different areas. So I'm a designer. I don't actually know how to code, but they're all fantastic at coding, some in marketing and data. So we were like, hey, look, let's pull together all of our skill sets to make this happen.
Nice. And then you have it's this Kaizen is like the brand name, but then it's Kaizen Solutions slash space is the actual the meeting tool, correct?
Yep.
Okay, very cool, very cool. I don't know. Do you want to start? We could start looking at the tool and go through from there and see if it works. Mess around with it.
Yeah, let's do it. I would love your help with this, Joe, actually.
Yeah,
So when it comes to showcasing a tool, I'd love because it's a more of a collaborative tool. I'd really like your help
Okay.
in like showcasing it in the world?
Let's try it, and hopefully it doesn't break Wave. If it does, we'll or I'll have Francois do it. Let's see. I have to click on. You sent it.
Oh, Francois in here. Hi,
Yeah,
Francois.
yeah, Francois. He's gonna ask you about. I probably already has to be everything in French, but he speaks English. He speaks English better than me. So
Yeah, look, he's given us quite a lot of good feedback, so like appreciate
yeah,
it.
yeah, we have that thread going in the LoudEgg group on Facebook. So if you want to contribute to it, and James, you've been great answering questions. I'm sure you're getting a lot on. You are running the lifetime deal on AppSumo only
Mm.
for a few more days, right? And then
Yeah, I think
like
it
2 or
ends in
3
about
days. I saw
3.
the
Yeah, 2 or 3.
countdown
Yeah.
timer, but then that's fine because we wanna scale this puppy, right? So
Mhm.
we gotta keep going with it. How has that, by the way, been going for you? Running a lifetime deal, a limited deal.
Yeah, I think it's been a very interesting and fun experience, if we had to be transparent. I think
Yeah,
we've never done a lifetime deal, and I think the dynamics of running a lifetime deal is very different from, I guess, doing a normal, I guess, launch or release. So I
yeah.
think that, I guess, the small details have been really interesting to like navigate. And it's
It's
also, we also see a lot of passion from the people that buy from us.
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely, and you get a lot of feedback. I mean, you get pulled in other directions. I'm sure people have already requested some interesting things. I know I have. I think the first time we spoke was it was like a Friday night late my time, and I was like, "Hey, this is great. What about this? What about this?" You're probably like, "Wait, what are you doing up over there in New York still?" I was like, "This is very interesting. It's a very, very cool platform." So yeah, you get a lot of wackos like me, that will be
No, I
asking
think your
questions.
feedback has been fantastic. We've been digging into it to see what we can make happen.
Oh yeah, Francois is like, yeah, James knows me a little because we have another webinar last week. Yep, with Albert. Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
I think you did like almost 2 hours. I saw after I
Yeah.
caught replay. Wow. Yeah, Al's a great guy. He's really really good, and you guys did a good job with that one. So, but
Yeah, it's go go.
yeah, very good. So, yeah, let's. So you want to share your screen, and we'll go from
Yeah,
there.
let's do it. Let's
Okay.
do it.
Then let me know when you want me to click the button here. I got.
Yeah, go ahead and click the button and just, I'll see you in the room.
Okay, let me see.
Yeah, let's hope I don't make a screen sharing leak like I did last time.
Yeah, don't share any valuable information. Make sure like all your credit card. I think I've done some really bad, like social security numbers up there. Everything's up there. It's like, oh, the share screen
That's
stuff
the
is
one.
it's dangerous. I think that's why I always have the guests share their screen because I'm a
Right.
big dope and I'll probably share something I shouldn't. All right, so I'm gonna make sure my camera is off. Yeah, turn camera. Let me turn it off. Microphone. Should I turn the microphone off? Yeah, just I'll turn it
Yeah.
all. Let me see. Actually, I'll shut it all. Okay, join. All right, I'm joining. And now I'll put it on the screen for us so everyone can see. All right, that's me, JM.
Perfect.
That's you.
Yeah. So we have a pair of JY and JMs.
JYJM. Look at that. Started J Company.
Awesome. Yeah, so I guess welcome. So this is, I guess, Kaizen space as a platform. So as you can see, we had a design philosophy of trying to keep video conferencing simple while also providing like people with the tools to kind of have effective and efficient meetings. So the design philosophy behind the platform is we want to try to make things as minimal as possible. Something that even if you've never been on Kaizen as a platform, something that you would kind of recognize and be familiar with within a couple of minutes at max. So we at the bottom we have kind of your standard, I guess, meeting controls, and like so, for example, meeting info, host controls, and settings. And then we in the middle stack we have your typical meeting features. For example, your video, your audio, sharing screen, sharing links, along with recordings. And we go into kind of the features of the meeting where we have notes, chat, participants, and documents. So to kind of go over the main features, I would love your help on this one, Joe,
Sure.
where let's tackle the idea of a shared presentation. So this is our, I guess, philosophy behind how do we make presentations in meetings a lot more streamlined, especially for those users or like presenters who have slightly less consistent networks. So back then, when we were remote working on Zoom or other platforms, sometimes some of the presentations we see are, I guess, you like people screen share their screen or screen share a presentation. And effectively, depending on the network of the sharer, you either have, I guess, a really, really crisp image, 1 second, and then you have a bit of pixelation, a bit of
Yeah.
cutting in and out during the presentation. So we thought, hey, look, a lot of times people just present documents as their presentations. So we thought, hey, look, let's try to make this experience more streamlined. So, Joe, if you wouldn't mind helping me, would you
Sure.
mind going to the bottom right-hand corner and clicking on the Show Documents button?
Okay. Show notes or
Show
show.
Documents.
Oh, there we
So
go. Gotcha. Yep.
the furthest right one. And
Gotcha.
what you will see is the idea of the meeting files. In the meeting files, there's this document called Idea Proposal.
Yep.
So if you wouldn't mind helping me out, Joe, would you mind clicking or double clicking on Idea Proposal and clicking Share Now?
Share the space. Share now.
Perfect. Perfect. So I guess in terms of what the viewer is going to see on my screen or on my screen share is what a typical viewer or the audience member is going to see in one of these presented meetings. So Joe, as the presenter, when you scroll through the presentation, the viewer gets a synced version of the presentation without having to, I guess, click anything and it automatically syncs.
Very cool.
Like, this is great if, I guess, as a viewer, you're like, okay, I just want to focus on the presentation and kind of follow the presenter. But we also know that a lot of times when you're in a presentation, these presentations go on for maybe like 30 minutes, 40 minutes. And a lot of times, if it's a long presentation, ideas kind of get lost, concentration kind of lapse. And effectively, as a viewer, you want the ability to go back
Yeah.
and to kind of review some of the things that have been spoken about in the past. So, Joe, if you just keep scrolling through the presentation, if you may. Perfect. So as Joe is scrolling through the presentation, what I'm going to do as a viewer, if I've kind of forgotten the content, is I'm going to scroll back on the presentation to get a refresher of what is happening.
Oh,
And
so
as I
on your end, you're going back, and on mine, I'm seeing going forward still.
Yep. So as I'm going back, I actually don't interrupt your flow as the presenter, Joe. So you can keep presenting to the rest of the entire meeting uninterrupted while I kind of like go back and catch up on the things that I missed.
Oh, that's cool. See, I didn't know this part. That's why I wanted to do this session. This way we could talk and I can learn how to use the thing. Because it was difficult for
Yeah.
me to kind of
Mm,
test it with myself here, back and
mm.
forth. I'm like, oh, cool. I could do this. I could share. I was like working on a document from 2 laptops, but I didn't try doing this part. This part is very, very cool.
Yeah, so like as Joe's presenting, right? So I'm now on a shift from around us, right? So I'm like looking back at, oh, okay, so it's a shift from around us to beyond us. And when I've now caught up, so now I'm like, okay, I kind of have an idea of what Joe's talking about, what he's presenting about. I now have the ability to simply click the button at the top middle of the page that says go back to presenter location. And the second I click that, I'm now synced again with Joe. So
Okay.
as we can see now, Joe is now scrolling through interactive remote spaces, lectures, tutorials, and onto collaboration. And as a viewer, you have the ability to kind of go through the presentation or follow the presenter without actually having to pause Joe as the presenter during these presentations.
Oh, this is perfect for me because I know during like a meeting, I'll be raising my hand every 5 seconds. I can just be like, look, I'll go back and they won't even know.
Yeah, like a lot of times when I was in these meetings, I would be admittedly the one that tuned out, and it would be really quite awkward having to tell, I guess, the partner or like the boss of a big company, like, and say, "Hey, really sorry, I kind of
Yeah.
missed it. Would you
Missed
mind
that
kind of
part.
going back?"
Yeah, can you go back for a
Yeah.
second? This is
And I'd get
excellent.
those like frowned upon glances, and I'm like, "Oh, yeah, okay,
So
yeah,
this
maybe
happened to
I'll."
you guys, you and your team during a lot of meetings, and you're like, "Hey, let's create a platform that will solve this problem for us."
Yeah.
Very
And
cool.
the kind of the benefit of, I guess, this type of implementation is because the document is I guess, loaded for everyone. Even if your network isn't as strong or you're having bursts of bad internet, it won't actually affect the, I guess, the syncing or the scrolling of the document. Because
Yeah,
unlike a traditional screen sharing, there's less data involved.
yeah, this is
Subject.
something that we discussed actually with the like video quality compression and how it does work on low, bandwidth. I mean, you still need internet, I know. Me and James, when we were chatting, we went back and forth, and I'm like, so it's gonna work with like basically like no internet. And you're like, no, wait, Joe, you have to have some internet. You can't just be on an island with no internet. But you guys created some sort of like the video compression that it can handle the lower bandwidth areas regions around the world, correct?
Yes, so we try to keep our video. Okay, so here's the kicker between us and like a platform like Zoom. So Zoom, like if a customer needs the top of the line quality in terms of video or audio, okay, maybe not audio, but just specifically video. If you need like crisp, like 1080p, like the state of the art video, then I think Zoom takes the cake in
Yeah,
this industry. I think it would be kind of disingenuous of us to be like, hey, look, our video is on par with Zoom.
yeah,
But unless you need the state of the art video, our video kind of like algorithms and okay, I won't say algorithms, but the way
yeah,
we kind of present our videos is that we try to get the most out of our video while also keeping the data rates as low as possible. So if people have, I guess, lesser or worse networks or internet, they can still kind of connect and have a pretty
yeah.
good experience.
Yeah, I didn't even notice, to be honest with you, and I'm crazy with video quality. Not like as much as some others, some of my pals who want everything 4K and all this stuff. But I didn't even notice that it was a lower video quality rate. But the way you guys have it balanced, that you're making it for places with lower bandwidth, that's ideal. That's perfect.
Yeah, we try to keep accessibility front of mind in the sense that I guess Zoom is trying to cater towards, I guess, the maximum video quality. And they have a really stable system as well. But we thought, hey, look, if we can try to leverage the way we trying to do it to make it simple and easily accessible for everyone, that's kind of where we're trying to push it at the moment.
Yeah, yeah, balance is definitely the way to go, because I know biggest frustration, and it happens in a lot of meetings where someone is somewhere else, or I speak to people in like villages, small towns, and their bandwidth it goes in and out, and then they miss half the presentation. They're frustrated. The workflow. You want to make sure everyone can collaborate at the same time. So I mean, yeah, you give away a little bit of the video quality, but for this use case, it's ideal. So I guess it was a good decision you guys went with that, because you probably during your testing was like, wait, this is not going to work everywhere if we do this, in high, super high resolution. But for that's a different use case. So
Yeah, so that was the trade-off that we came up with. But I think, I think in terms of most of the customers that we're currently serving, they seem to appreciate that. So
yeah,
we're gonna power through that for now.
very cool.
Yeah, awesome. So this is kind of the way we imagine presentations. But we understand that, I guess, when it comes to meetings, presentations aren't the only use case. And for us, a lot of the times we use a lot of documents. And with documents, I guess on conventional services, you're limited to the idea of screen sharing. So you share a screen, you share a document, and you basically watch the person who's presenting do all of the editing and do all of like the changes that are made. And we thought that, hey, look, in most of the use cases, that was a lot less engaging and productive overall. So what we designed was we thought, hey, look, let's make documents collaborative even in these meetings. So we have the option of two types of documents. So how we work is either through the Google Suite, which is Google Documents, Google Slides, or Google Sheets, or, and a lot of businesses still use the legacy Microsoft systems. And that's where we came up with, I guess, our version of Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, and Excel. So Joe, let's have a go at this right now. What would you prefer to use? What do you normally use? Do you normally use the Google Suite, or are you more of a Microsoft person?
You know, honestly, I'm a big Adobe person, but that's not. I know you knew
As
that
a
was coming.
designer,
But yeah, as a
as a
design, well,
designer.
yeah, you're a designer, you know, or you could use Canva. But you
Yeah.
know what? I go back and forth.
Yeah.
We've been using both. And
Mm,
and Kaizen Solutions will handle both. Correct? It's no
mm,
problem
yeah.
with sharing with Google or with Microsoft. So you have both covered. I guess let's do Google. Why not?
Yeah, let's do it. So in terms of the way we split it, so we have meeting files that are local to the meeting itself. So people can upload and create new files, and these store specifically to the meeting, and they're synced into your cloud. That being said, if you want to connect, like we understand that a lot of people have a lot of their data and their like I guess files stored in existing cloud storage drives, which is why we have the option of letting people connect their Google Drive, Dropbox, and OneDrive. So let's kind of play around with that. So effectively, if you want to create a document in your Google, like a Google document in your meetings, simply click New File, and we click Create File to Google, and we click Documents, and let's name it. We can name it LoudEgg Joe, smiley face, and then we click Create, and within a few seconds, the document gets created, and we can share this so that everyone can edit in the meeting.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Perfect. So that should probably pop up for you in about a second, Joe.
Yep,
And
popped up already, and just says, you know,
awesome,
I'm signed in at my LoudEgg Gmail account, and
awesome.
I can already type and do stuff.
Yeah, awesome. So I can see that Joe has been typing, and I can be like, "Hey, Joe, excited to work on this document with you."
And it shows on my end anonymous llama.
Yeah. So at the moment, we've tried to keep, I guess, a lot of the participants' information as private as possible. So you can see that you're logged in to your account. But in
Mhm.
terms of other people, we try to mask out as much of whichever Google account they're using, which is why it shows as, I guess, anonymous llama and anonymous mink, which is what Google seems to want to display.
Oh, this is good. This is cool. I like this. This is very cool.
Yeah, so I guess this is how we envision the way that people should work in a meeting is effectively if you're working on documents, instead of watching people screen share and having only the presenter be able to make changes, now everyone in the meeting, up to 10 people, can now collaborate and work on this document together.
Okay, so up to 10 people can collaborate, but can you have more people on the meeting?
Yeah, so effectively you could have up to 200 people, depending on the tier that like the tier you're on, in one space. But only 10 people can actively collaborate at one time. That
Okay.
being said, everyone else is still actively watching the document itself, except they're just in a view only mode.
Okay. Yeah, that works. Yeah, I mean, you don't want more than 10. If you get, it will get a little crazy if you have like 100 people editing a document.
Yeah. So we actually it's quite a funny question because we initially tried to allow everyone to edit, and then we found that it was pretty chaotic. So especially with larger documents with people in different pages, you start having a performance hit, especially when everyone's making changes and we're trying to, I guess, sync and save all the changes directly to the drive itself.
Yeah, because even right now, if you have 10 people collaborating on this, anyone at any time can edit anything, correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you kind of have to have a little control, or someone be like, okay, everyone raise your hand if you're going to do a change, if you have that many people. With two or three, not too chaotic, but I could see how this could get crazy. Um,
Yeah.
but it's real
So
time. It's great. I mean, it's better than just you feel like you're involved with the whole meeting. Like we have
mhm,
at the agency at Max Burst, we're constantly collaborating and we're doing, you know, like you said, screenshots, sending files
mhm,
over, we're pulling things from the drive. But a lot of times working from home, we go to the office like a couple times a week. But these other days, like now working from home,
mhm,
you know, it's a slower process. We want to talk and communicate while we're doing the changes, rather than getting
mhm.
yelled at later. Be like, why did Joe do that? He messed it up. You know, this would be great. They can yell at me in real time while we're having the call. So I guess that's why you made the solution. I mean, is there any other Not to name, you don't have to name competitors in the space, but others doing something like this already?
Um, yeah, look, I think there's some other services who also integrate Google, mainly because Google is, I guess, a more of an open platform.
Yeah.
But in terms of catering for both Google and Microsoft, I believe we are the only platform that caters to both of those use cases.
Wow.
The
That's
main Yeah, the main challenge behind, I guess, supporting Microsoft platforms is simply that Microsoft is like Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, and Excel are paid solutions, meaning that we can't really just use their like editor as a native kind of editor embedded in here. And because of that, we've had to kind of re-engineer our own versions of Word, like PowerPoint and Excel, to provide support for those type of file types. And I think
gotcha.
as a result, to make that collaborative, we seem to be the only platform that
Wow.
seems to offer some type of solution for that.
Well, that's great because a lot of people are still stuck on they want their Microsoft team. That's why
Yeah.
when you ask me what do I use, it depends on the client or who I'm
Yeah.
meeting with, or even the guys at work. Some of them are Microsoft, some of them are Google. I'd say more these days seem to be Google, but
Mm.
Microsoft still plenty of people that they just want to use that. They're comfortable with it. So
Yeah, so I guess that's how we kind of came about with this platform. And in terms of our integrations with the major cloud providers, we allow integrations with Google Drive, Dropbox, and OneDrive because that seems to be the more popular choices. And a lot of times in a meeting, we have the tendency to kind of like work on documents we've already worked on in the past. So a lot of use cases aren't simply starting a new document, which is why we kind of have a more of a custom integration with these drives, where you can actually both create a new file, but also browse your Google Drive right in the meeting itself. So as you can see, I have like my Google Drive files and the different, I guess, documents I've worked on in the past. And you can simply share one of the documents in your Google Drive without having to kind of go to a new tab and working on it through there.
very
Yeah.
cool. And you can also record the session to share later if needed.
Yeah, so we tried to implement all of the standard features that a lot of people would want. So, for example, I guess when it comes to recording, you can record the meeting, and for most documents, they will also appear in synced within the recordings. So the exception to that is Google Documents, like the Google Suite. Because we don't directly own or like have access to everything in a Google document or a Google Drive, like a Google document, Google Sheet, or Google Slides, that it seems to be the only type of document that won't show up in your recordings. But if you kind of work on a Word doc, spreadsheet, Excel type file, they will actually, that document itself would actually appear in your recordings as well.
Okay. All right, cool. And I think the other thing we were talking about, a lot of questions on this one was the transcription, which is on your roadmap to integrate with like third party tools,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah. So in terms of transcriptions, this is kind of one of those interesting, I guess, dialogues to have, especially on our internal team. It is kind of figuring out a way to kind of bring, I guess, transcriptions to lifetime deals sustainably. So it's like quite easy to kind of provide our own transcription services. But if in terms of the unit economics of providing that for the long term, it is not the most sustainable approach. Like we haven't really found a way to kind of implement it sustainably. So when
But
it comes to
yeah,
third party services, it's kind of seems to be a mixed bag where a lot of the less commonly used ones, they don't actually have a public developer API. So that it actually requires us reaching out to them, and we have. But there's a few providers that aren't as keen to work on a smaller meeting platform like ours. So like they try to kind of prioritize the big players, for example, Zoom, Google Meets, and Microsoft Teams. And I think that's kind of the slight dilemma that we're facing is effectively trying to convince these third party providers to kind of like work with us to provide
yeah.
a native transcription kind of integration.
But if not, you can just take the recording after and upload it to the transcription tool. So that's the workaround. That's what I've been
Yeah.
doing, and that's fine. But eventually, I mean, you can't just think about the lifetime deal. When in the subscription
Mm.
model, you probably eventually are you probably discussing making your own, and that you could put that cost on the subscription, the model, correct? You could that's an
Yeah.
option. This way, it kind of offsets the cost or whatever else you have to deal with. You don't want to lose money on this.
Yeah. Yeah, so in terms of I guess our monthly plans, that becomes a whole different story where I think we could very easily kind of offset that cost simply as a monthly subscription. And I think that is a lot closer to being a reality compared to a lifetime deal, unfortunately.
Inder actually is just asking, is it possible to connect with the transcriber? So yeah, you could probably jump on late on this comment, but it's not
Yeah,
currently, but working on it. If not, we'll
work in
just
progress.
yeah, yeah, we have to. That's I know that's a big one,
Mm,
but it's a different. It's sort of a different use case. I mean, because James, what we were talking about for the last few weeks, going back and forth on everything, is the other tools for that where you're just having a meeting, and if you want that
mm,
super high quality video but you're not going to be able to collaborate, that that's the trade-off. So this is the collaboration tool where everything's happening, live. You guys are working on a project together, that's it. Where the meeting one-on-ones or multiple is usually just, yeah, get to know somebody. Okay, we're not collaborating on documents together. We're just talking, interview, like a kickoff call for a SEO campaign that we have. We'll do that on Google Meet. And then yeah, you get the transcription after. It's fine, good. But if we have to work on something together, then KaiZoN Solutions. That's the balance, correct? It's okay to have a couple video meeting tools in your toolbox.
yeah, that's the intention. I think in the long term, we do want to be that one platform that allows people to replace all of their other ones. But I
Yeah.
think in terms of, I guess, the short term, we like to think ourselves as the platform that allows people to have simple meetings while also having the ability to kind of extend beyond a more collaborative experience.
Yeah, I actually think personally, I would be at first I was all into the transcription, hey, we should do the transcription, it'd be great. But if you could somehow work on that core, which you're doing, where you have the ability to share documents, even if you can work on more getting other tools that you could share on Kaizen. Is that on the roadmap? Are you always looking for other, like Adobe or like anything else? I'm just curious because if you do that, then you would be the go-to. The more you get, the merrier. Now, I don't know how that works and costs and all that and API access, but is that possible to add um, more
Yeah.
platforms to share with?
Yeah, I think it definitely is possible. I think it depends on the nature of the platform itself, in the
Yeah,
sense that, for example, with a more collaborative application like, I guess, for example, Figma. So with a Figma integration, it would natively work quite well in our platform, where people can kind of natively, I guess, natively or collaboratively design or like make changes to the designs in real time because Figma already has that, I guess, capability. So we can kind of slot it in, work on like a custom integration, and it could work quite natively well. With like, I guess, a less collaborative product by nature, like for example, Canva or like Adobe Photoshop,
yeah,
it would likely require a very custom integration that we would have to directly work with that company with to make some sort of customized collaboration work. Otherwise, if we just simply integrate it, like I guess it would be a clearer version of a screen share because
yeah,
it's sharing to the platform,
yeah.
but
You're
you
right.
wouldn't have the collaboration kind of features. And I think that's kind of the balance that we're trying to seek is how do we make, I guess, a platform that is less collaborative by nature, collaborative without
Yeah.
the developers changing their code.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I guess you could always do like a screenshot or put a JPEG in the presentation and then just mark it up. We can, I guess we could do that currently, right? With Kaizen, we have an image. Is there a way to edit
Right.
like if we pasted it
Oh,
into the doc or
yeah.
something,
Yeah, so if, for example, okay, so in terms of a native editing on an
or
image,
a
we don't actually
whiteboard,
have.
like a whiteboard option,
Yep. So in terms of a whiteboard, that has been our probably our second most requested feature so far. It is a work in progress at the moment.
Okay.
We actually used to have our version of a whiteboard, but because we're trying to keep the stability of our platform as probably the number one priority, it wasn't stable enough for, I guess, our expectations.
Yeah.
Where for the most part, it would work okay. But whenever you had a moment where someone had a bad internet, or someone had a less updated version of a laptop, and their like computer was struggling a bit, the whiteboard would kind of make the call
Lag.
itself quite sluggish. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. No, you don't want that because you don't want like a bad user experience and then it's a game over. So
Yep.
try to keep everyone happy and the support, channel not overwhelmed. The whiteboard's not working. It's driving me crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a work in progress. Yeah, so I think it's a work in progress. We love the feature set of being able to annotate and I guess draw and add things in general. So it's definitely something that's coming.
Okay. Very cool. Is there anything else you want to show on
Awesome.
this
Yeah,
share?
I think just to kind of wrap up the feature set in, I guess, the platform itself, let's kind of showcase our version of what a breakout room looks like. So we kind of have, I guess, the way we envisioned breakout rooms to work in space, and we call them spaces, to kind of draw tribute to the way that people normally spread out into pockets of space in a physical environment. So when you're in an office environment and you're trying to break out into different meetings, you kind of find an open space in a pocket of like your office and you kind of take a meeting there. But it also allows you to have that human touch of being able to see other people in like that physical space. And with, I guess, traditional other platforms, when you're going into a breakout room, you kind of feel isolated and you kind of feel as if you're a bit disconnected from the greater meeting. And what we wanted to do was try to address that. And how we did that is our version of spaces or open spaces to kind of mirror breakout rooms. So to do that, all you simply have to do is go next to the tab that says central space. There's an icon or button that says plus. All you simply do is click it and it allows you to name the space that you want to create. Let's suppose design. In a minute, Joe, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new space and I'm going to hop into it. And while I hop into it, if you wouldn't mind, would you keep an eye out on the chat in the bottom right-hand corner of the space meeting itself?
Mhm.
And what we're going to do is we're going to chat between spaces so that, I guess, during a collaboration session, people don't actually have to hop between breakout rooms or spaces rather to actually collaborate. So to show how that works, I'm going to create a new space and I'm going to hop into it. And now that I'm in a new space, Joe, what we can see is I am going to go into the chat and I can see that you're on central space while I'm in design. I'm going to go into a central space chat and I'm going to say, hey, Joe, how's the meeting going? And despite you being in a separate space, instead of having to kind of jump between the spaces just to get your feedback or quick word about a specific idea, we can now kind of talk without having to jump through these spaces.
And I see I could switch the chat space if I want to just go to design and talk to you
Yes,
over there.
yes, agreed. And that kind of streamlines the way people collaborate in different spaces without feeling as if you're completely distinct or like removed from the greater meeting. Perfect. I can see that Joe has now messaged in the design chat, and I can open it and see, oh, Joe said hello. Hey, Joe. I can see Joe's typing. This space is better. Design is always better.
Yeah. Let's talk about everybody else in the other group.
And what's awesome about the way we can do this is whenever you feel like you're ready to kind of go and join the greater meeting itself, all you have to do is hover over the central space and you get a preview of what is happening in that space. So when I hover on central space, I can see that Joe is currently sharing a file. And because I know that Joe is sharing a file and is in the middle of a presentation, I feel comfortable knowing that I won't interrupt Joe's flow. So all I have to do is simply click the central space and I can hop right in without feeling or without knowing or without being scared that I'm going to disrupt the greater meeting as a whole.
Okay.
And now that I'm back.
Nice. Yeah, I think I heard like a beep when someone else joins the central space.
Yep. So
Okay.
that just lets, I guess, you as the presenter know that, hey, look, someone new has joined, and you don't feel as if it is someone kind of coming up behind you without knowledge.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool.
Awesome.
Patrick is saying, my wife is an architect and always looking to collaborate with her employees. Do you have integration with AutoCAD, Revit, or
Love it.
SketchUp? Yeah, we were talking about this before. This is
Yeah,
going
I
to
think,
be, yeah,
okay, so I think in this case, this would be something that we would have to look into as opposed to me being able to blanket say definitely in the future. Like I've worked with AutoCAD, I've worked with Maya in the past, and they aren't the most collaborative nor the most light applications to man. They're quite heavy and like I guess intense applications. So I think I would need to kind of look into how that integration works and whether or not those applications are even browser supported. Because only then can I kind of explain, hey, look, is this likely going to be an integration that we can provide in the future?
yeah.
It's a great way to integrate it, but I just until we know, I don't want to.
Yeah. I'm sure you get a lot of these, questions for integrations, especially with a collaboration tool. Because we all have other tools that we use. And if you like a platform, you're like, oh, I want to try this with something else too. See how far we can push it until it breaks.
Yeah,
Let's see.
especially with design tools, they're like a
Yeah,
great
with
way to
design
collaborate on it.
tools. Don't get me wrong, with design, I mean, most of us designers, we don't want to collaborate. We want to collaborate after we have something to show, and then we like, okay, what do you think of this? Yes, no. What do you want to change? No, no, I'll change it. I'll change it. Francois is asking, just figured that it's not possible to make an iframe with meeting room. Is there any way to do so? Not sure what he
Just figure
means.
that
His other question was there is Collab for collaborate online, iframe, and endless whiteboard. Oh, I guess he was talking about the whiteboard
right,
option if you want to look into that.
right.
Uh,
Yeah, I think yeah. Look, I think that's a great suggestion. We'll definitely look into Collabroad as an option to integrate. Yeah, I think we were also looking at Miro as an integration potentially. But in terms of Miro, I think they are less. Okay, I think they've reduced their free plans, and we're just hesitant to work with an integration that has, I guess, a very limited free plan. But there
yeah.
are options, I guess, in terms of whiteboards that we can integrate. So we would also look into that direction as well.
And again, how long has KaiZoN Solutions been around for?
Oh yeah, that's a great question. So we initially started development in 2021, and we officially launched our beta last year
Yeah, so it's not
in
long.
yeah about April, and then we had our official launch in October.
Okay, very nice. Yeah, so you guys, I mean, you're just getting started out, really. I know people have asked you probably on AppSumo, like, how's the funding runway? Are you going to be okay? Are you going to survive? All this stuff,
Yeah.
because we've had problems before with some video tools. We won't mention them.
Yeah. Yeah, like I think in terms of the way we try to keep our services up, right? It's like I think there's a narrative of okay, so how does a lifetime deal, especially in a video conferencing platform, work and how's that sustainable?
Yeah,
I think the way we try to do it is we try to, I guess, build our platforms differently. So one of the, okay, so I guess I've kind of mentioned this in the past, but I think one of the key ways that software gets built these days is to integrate or implement third-party software as a service features. So when it comes to video conferencing specifically, we have, I guess, ways of actually getting to market as a video conferencing provider in literally months. So how you do that is by actually, like I guess, offsetting, or I guess offloading the development of the video and audio components of a video conferencing platform to a third party like a Dite or an Agora. And what they do is they basically charge you per minute to use, I guess, their video API. So for us as a company, we try to build as much of our features in-house as possible. And when we do that, it allows us to keep the costs of scaling to multiple users, especially in a lifetime deal, to as low as possible. And that's one of the key ways we are able to offer lifetime deals or competitive rates at a very sustainable, method.
Yeah, your pricing actually is pretty good. Your monthly subscriptions. I looked. I mean, it was something like a few dollars a month if you do the yearly starting plans. Do you want to go over that? The price model there. Post
Yeah, definitely.
LGD. This way we could talk about that a little bit. It's not just
Yeah,
lifetime
wicked.
deals, right? We gotta support the founders and make
Yeah,
the money.
definitely. So in terms of our monthly, so we try to accommodate small businesses as much as we can and solo, like entrepreneurs or like solo contractors. So our lowest plan, our creative plan, starts at about $2.50 or $3.20 a month. So that effectively gives you all of the core features, like the collaboration, the core features, and a 2 hour, meeting limit. So that's typically what we found to be the sweet spot and how long the meetings typically go. So unlike a Zoom that gives you about 40 minutes and Google Meets that's about an hour, we try to extend that to 2 hours. And for a cup of for the price of a coffee, we give you
I was about to say that's like half the price of a coffee or like a quarter in New York. That's coffee here is like $12 now. If you go to like Starbucks, it's crazy. So
really,
it's so you are like way less than a cup of coffee price. That's good. A good deal.
yeah, we try to keep it like as low as possible so that it's really accessible for the solopreneur or like the solo contractor who's just trying to get quality meeting services without, the limitation of time. So in our research and our studies talking to customers, most people don't have meetings that exceed 2 hours. So if you have like meetings that don't exceed 2 hours for about $3 a month, you can get a quality platform that doesn't really have that many limitations. And for, the small businesses, especially with, global, economic challenges, we try to keep the cost for smaller businesses down as low as possible as well. So for about $10, $12 a month, we have the option so that you don't have a meeting time limit and you have all of the core features that you come to expect.
Nice.
It's only when you get into the larger businesses where you have like a big team and we have a lot more hands-on work to support that integration and implementation. That's when our prices start going up to about $20 to $22 per user per month.
Where are your users mostly from? Like, and what type of users do you currently have? Do you have small businesses, large businesses?
Yeah, so predominantly in terms of our user demographic, they're mostly small businesses and a lot of students as well.
Okay.
So we try to also support education. I wouldn't say fresh out of university, but we haven't been. Within a couple of years of being out of university, we kind of understand the challenges of a lot of students who need, platforms, especially when you're kind of studying full time. You don't have a lot of extra money to kind of pour into software. We try to support those use cases as well, along with teachers and education in
Yeah,
general.
because you could use this in the schools themselves, and having a lot of schools, around the world with lower bandwidth, this would be ideal tool to teach. Where I know I've done some sessions where other people and they've been in that low bandwidth area. No, the internet's really bad, and you can't get through a lesson. It's like, oh, it's kicking off. Let's try another platform. Let's go on Zoom. Let's go on Google Meet. Let's try. Nothing's working. So you're saying hopefully KaiZoN Solutions will work, but you need internet.
Yeah. You need some form of internet just to connect, but after that, I think we try to be as accessible as possible for the
Yeah.
greater amount of people.
Was there anything else you want to show on the stream, on the share screen? I put it off the screen, but if you want to put it back, if you need to show anything else, up to you.
Look, I think in terms of just two quick updates for the, general, users who have wanted specific features, I'd just like to call out two features specifically that we've added during our campaign.
Yeah.
The first one is the ability to share a YouTube video. So effectively, right now, you can share Notion pages or YouTube videos, and they will sync for everyone in the meeting itself. So for example, Joe, if you shared a YouTube video through here, I would be able to see that and it would be synced for everyone in the meeting in real time. The second feature that I like to call out is we naturally save all of the files in, I guess, a space meeting by default to our own cloud service provider, like our own cloud service drive. And that's called Kaizen Flow. But we recognize that a lot of people have their documents and their files stored over years, even on Google Drive, Dropbox, or OneDrive. So we've actually made the ability to select one of these drives as the default location to save your recordings. So in your Kaizen Space meetings, if you want to use Google Drive, Dropbox, or OneDrive, which is coming soon, as your default storage location, your recordings get automatically saved there instead. Yep, and I guess to quickly showcase how that works, all you do is go into your product settings, and once you're in your product settings, you go to the space settings, and you can choose, for example, what, I guess, cloud drives to integrate. And once you've integrated, for example, Google Drive, you go into storage, and you can set that as default. If you select that as default, then all of your recordings automatically save to Google Drive as opposed to Kaizen Flow. So it just gives people the option to use their drives instead of, I guess, feeling locked into our own platforms.
Very nice.
Yeah, perfect. So that's kind of the, I guess, the two last features I wanted to call out just really
Okay.
quickly.
All right, cool. Yeah, no, thank you for sharing that. Great presentation. You're a pro. I was just along for the
So,
ride. What while we have you on, what do you see like the future of meeting tools of these video tools? How do you see like what's happening in the next year or a couple of years? What's your predictions, if any?
oh, so this is okay. So I think with how fast AI is kind of moving, it is really, really hard to say. I think when it comes to remote work, despite a push to get, I guess, return to office being, I guess, the push in recent months, I do personally believe, I guess, with a vested interest, that remote work is probably still here to stay, especially with how, I guess, things are shaping up with, I guess, cross-country trade, right?
Yeah.
I do think, I guess, remote work is here to stay in some capacity. It's just really interesting for us, even as, I guess, remote collaboration providers, to see how AI would affect the landscape beyond simply transcription. So in terms of, I guess, remote meetings, AI seems to only really be impactful in the way you summarize meetings itself, whether that's through transcriptions or AI summaries. But I think there's a lot of development in, I guess, different spaces on seeing how AI can actually replace
Yeah.
people in these meetings,
Yeah.
which is a crazy idea. But I think it would be quite interesting to see how that impacts the
Is
future.
there going to be a Kaizen like AI like avatar in the future, you know, in the right corner that's going to talk to us? Is that in the works?
Look, look, we don't want to reveal what we have in the long-term plans, but I think it's definitely something that is interesting to explore. But we don't want to kind of promise anything in terms of like what we have for the future. But I think it is an area that is interesting to explore.
Just don't create
Like Zoom,
Skynet, all right? I don't want this to be the origin story for Skynet. Or if you do invent Skynet, just remember me and hire me as your marketing guy.
yeah, definitely can't have a PR disaster.
Yeah, we got to make sure everything's okay. Ignore the Terminator droids. They're your friends. They're
Yeah.
going to
Just
help
out
you
of curiosity,
collaborate.
how do you see? Sorry, Joe. Just out of curiosity, how do you see remote work in the future? Just as from
I
your
kind of
perspective as a designer.
I agree with you. I think it is here to stay, especially in the States. I mean, I don't know how in other countries, but even locally, like in New York, most are now on the, I would say, hybrid model, where you work from home and then you go to the office, you know, once a week or here and there. But it's a lot of work from home. Um, Also, it's the cost. You know, companies realize, wow, we don't have to have these large office buildings anymore, with all this rent overhead. Uh, but I think that the owners of businesses are trying to figure out how to keep the employees, working, not
Mhm.
surfing the net or going on Amazon and buying stuff while they should be working. So I
Right.
think like collaboration tools. That's why I
Mhm.
was interested in Kaizen when you guys showed up. That they want to have more real time collaboration, to
Mhm.
kind of during their day, every day, without putting like some spy tool on your computer at home that makes sure you're working. But if you're
Yep.
collaborating, like at the office we use Slack, but that's just
Right.
for talking back and forth. But
Mhm.
it's on all day.
Mhm.
They kind of like, we get tasks back and forth, and we use our tools like
Mhm.
Asana, project management. So you have that kind of collaboration, but it's not super real time with video.
Right.
So something like this could definitely help keep that going. But I do think that, AI, like you said, it's not even month or year to year. It's day by day. Like while we were on this
Mhm.
call, I'm sure like 3 different tools were just created. And then, they're working on already another, model, AI model. And I don't know how, predictions of that could replace people. It's already replacing some people. I know writers
Mhm.
are feeling it. I haven't hired a writer in I don't know how long, because you just create content on your own. Um, but with the video, people more than ever want to connect, because we've been remote for so long
Mhm.
and not speaking to other humans for a while there.
Yeah.
It gets kind of crazy. So I really think that this is it's definitely needed. People are not all going to go back to offices, and even if they did, you
Mhm.
still need to collaborate through video. Because I mean, we're open. Our agency, we don't have many coming to our conference room. People are just used to talking
Yep. Yep.
on Zooms and Google Meets, and hopefully,
Mhm.
Kaizen. It's just easier. You don't have to like
Mhm.
get in the car, go on the train, subway, calculate your whole day. We've gotten kind of used to this, I guess.
Mhm.
So, I think it's here to stay. But some are doing the different, model system where they
Mhm.
were like, hey, at least come to the office once a week or twice a week, just to kind of have a
Mhm.
meetup, or other activities, go out at night, go for a drink, with the coworkers, because that's
Mhm.
important. You want to have that
Mhm.
that team building. I still think
Right.
that a lot of businesses are lacking that, where they've forgotten
Mhm.
about that part, and you want to have make sure you take care of your team. So that's what I see. I don't know if that made any sense.
Yeah, no, that sounds like, I think that perspective is the one that we also share, in the sense that I think remote work probably isn't going to be completely remote
Yeah.
for the most part. I think it'd probably be a hybrid. But I think there's also conjecture that hybrid is probably the worst model. But hey, like, I think we personally believe it's probably the better way, where you have both human connection, especially for more casual days. And
Yeah.
you also have, I guess, remote for like the days where it's just inconvenient to go into the office.
How is it in Sydney? A lot of people remote?
I think in terms of the mandates for remote, like return to office, a lot
Yeah.
of big companies are trying to push their workers back. That being said, I think there's still a pretty big proportion of people who are taking a more hybrid approach, where they have like a couple of days in the office, a couple of days remote. And that seems to be the healthy balance that we have in Australia.
Yeah, I like that balance. I think that's great. I know, yeah, some of the larger Fortune 500 companies, I believe there was in the news lately, they're trying to push to get everyone back to work, right? I mean,
Mhm.
that's some of the bigger companies. But even some of the larger ones they're saving money. So there's like, you know what? You
Mhm.
guys stay home. Just make sure you do your work.
Yeah, reducing the expensive, I guess, commercial real estate contracts that they have to rent out.
Yeah, definitely. I know we also discussed doing a giveaway or giveaways.
Yeah,
We could talk about that after. Whoever joined this call, we'll go through the names, and maybe we'll create a post in the group in the coming week or so. You could pick the winners, and
sounds
we can go
good.
from there. You got the AppSimo deal ending. If you watch this video later on YouTube at LoudEgg, then sorry, you missed that. But it's okay because you can subscribe. The subscription model you guys have is very affordable, like a quarter a cup of the price of coffee in New York. It's very expensive. So it's not like, you're missing out too much. But is there anything else you want to add? We didn't get too many questions, I think, because you've had live the webinars in the past last week. So I'm sure you answered a lot of questions in that 2-hour call, but they've been good.
Yeah, like I think in terms of I guess our deals, we try to keep like at this stage as accessible of a platform as possible. We don't even have, I guess, native apps for like Windows, Mac OS, iOS, or Android. We just run all of our platforms through the browser. And that allows, especially a lot of, I guess, our customers, when they're sending, I guess, meeting invites to clients, they appreciate clients not having to download an application and reduce the friction of, I guess, hopping onto like different meetings through that.
And it's mobile friendly, correct? We didn't touch on
Yes.
the KYZON Solutions. So that works very well, where you don't have to log in, like you said, download an app. You can just go in, boom, browser, and it's good.
Yeah, so send whoever a link. If they want to join on mobile, they just click the link and it opens in their browser of choice and they're in. They just have
Yeah,
the meeting experience as normal. The only caveat is they can't screen share on mobile,
yeah.
but that is unfortunately a browser limitation on mobile as opposed to, I guess, us just not, I guess, just us being, I guess, stingy.
I
No,
wouldn't want
so
to
we
collaborate on mobile. I probably wouldn't want to collab on a mobile because I've done it before where I'll just join the meeting, just to see so I don't miss the meeting, miss the call. But I guess for the full experience, you want to be on your desktop, laptop, correct?
Well, the best experience on desktop, laptop is the preferred medium, but I guess you can do everything you can on mobile minus screen sharing is the only limitation.
There's Inder. No, you're not late. Don't worry.
Hey, no.
Hey, it's all right. You're a little late. You can watch the replay, but I think he was on YouTube before watching. So,
Yeah.
yeah, thanks again. Inder is great. He connected us actually, James. So he
We
got us
did.
started to talk a few weeks ago. He's great in the community. He's definitely like looking out for new tools that he likes. And I gotta say, the ones that he chooses are really unique, and they're like KaiZoN Solutions. So I gotta thank him. He's like my agent. He gets us like all these deals. He's like, hey, you got to reach out to James. And then, we hit it off right away. You're a super cool guy. You have a lot of patience, I got to say, answering all these questions. And you've been really active. You're in a lot of, right? You're a lot of Facebook groups. I see you everywhere answering
Yeah.
questions.
We try to. I think in terms of, I guess, I think first off, thank you, Inder. Inder has actually helped us a lot in the background without even us asking for it. So thank you, Inder. He's really made a lot of introductions in the background. So thank you. In terms of, I guess, Facebook groups, we just try to present our platform in about as realistic of a light as we possibly can, because we know that a lot of, I guess, other deals on AppSumo in the past have, yeah, I won't say like, right. I think it's just more like there is a lot of upcoming features with a lot of products. And I think for us, we want to be like more in the present and more realistic about what we provide today so that people can make a better informed purchasing decision
Yeah.
as to whether our tool can help them today or
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Well, you've been super transparent. I got to give you that because not a lot, but there are plenty of founders that, they really don't answer all the questions, or they're kind of like, yeah, we're gonna do everything. This is what we're gonna do.
Mm.
And you're gonna set yourself up to fail because, if you promise, especially sumolings, you promise them everything in like a year, they'll be like, what happened? You promised this, you promised that, and you've been transparent. We talked about video, we talked about other competitors, and there's plenty of room for everybody. And if you have a good tool, you have the core of your product is excellent. And invest in founders. I mean, like, you're a good founder. I haven't met your co-founders yet. Maybe we'll get them eventually on camera, right?
Yeah, maybe the next live I'll bring on all my co-founders.
Yeah, let's have a team going here. Yeah, Inder's saying even I use AutoCAD and X. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so
We'll look into those, but
we
no
got to look at
promises.
this. No promises, no promises. So, yeah. Anything else you want to? I know it's late by you. What is it? 1 o'clock in the morning or?
Yeah, I think it's just ticked over 1 a.m. I think,
All
look,
right.
I think the final thing I want to say, Joe, is thank you for all of the support as well. I know you've also in the background been making introductions, helping us out, and especially with, I guess, how the campaign has went. We really couldn't have done it without like you and all the other people that supported us throughout the entire campaign. Even like, I think a lot of times we actually, as founders, don't realize the implicit support a lot of the community members give us. So I think this is an extension to all the people who've helped us. Even if we haven't realized it, it's a thank you very much. It has
No,
helped
no, thank
greatly.
you. No, thank you. It's been great. It's been a fun experience. And I love doing these calls because it it gives you like a platform to get
Mhm.
out there and to see who's behind the tools, where otherwise it's just like a social media post and then people don't get to know you. So I think and you're great at this stuff and you're a super nice guy. It's all Inder's fault. He introduced us. He's a great guy. Inder is definitely great, and the community is great, and all the groups. So hopefully, you might even see you in other groups in the future doing some of these, and we should do this again too, sometime.
Yeah.
Post lifetime deal to discuss like what's going on, and if you want to just talk about meetings, collaborations in
Mhm.
general. I think it's an important topic. Not just using the platforms, but how's it going for everybody out there? We don't talk about
Yeah.
this as much. Just the tech. It's always just the tech. You got to talk about the people.
Mhm.
So yeah. So
Yeah, would love to.
yeah, cool.
Would honestly love to, Joe. It's been absolute pleasure.
Yeah.
I think it's been really fun,
Yeah. Yeah. Thank
and you're
thank
a great
you,
host.
James. No,
You're
oh,
a
thanks.
fantastic host.
I try to stay out of your way. It's still early for me. I gotta go back to work now. This is my lunch breakfast, I guess, break. But yeah, you've been great. Thank you everyone for joining this KYZON Solutions uh, call. It's been fun. And James, we're going to talk more. I'm going to bug you more in the future, near future, probably. Uh, but
Definitely.
but yeah, thanks. Thanks a lot, James. I hope you get some rest. I know you're going to probably be up for a while because you're checking the support and chatting and on AppSumo. But if you want the lifetime deal, AppSumo, it's still going on, I think, for a couple days. If not, check out the pricing plan on KaiZonSolutions.com. And yeah, we'll see you. See you next time, guys.
Thank you
Bye.
for having me, and I'll see you soon.
See ya.